going to talk about today is about branding and marketing your sharpening business. You know, one of my favorite poems is Emily Dickinson. And it's a poem, I'm nobody, who are you? Are you nobody too? There's a pair of us. Don't tell, they'd advertise, you know. How dreary to be somebody, how public like a frog, to tell your name to live long June, to an admiring bog. Now I suppose you're reading that and wondering, what in the heck does that have to do with sharpening? It has to do a lot with sharpening. Most of you, especially those of you who have started your own business, when you first started out, you were nobody. Even now, when you're going from salon to salon, from business to business, when you first walk in, we don't know who you are. We don't know why we're supposed to use you. I've had people come into the salons and spas wanting me to hand over my $1,200 or $1,500 shears because I'm a sharpener. And you ask them some questions about sharpening and, well, they went to Home Depot and they had this grinder that they bought. And unfortunately, stylists are passing their shears over to these people. And they're getting back these burned, you know, warped shears that they can't even use anymore. And so then stylists no longer trust people coming in. And they're having to send them out to manufacturers or distributors. And we don't like that either. I mean, I don't want to send my expensive shears in the mail. So when you walk into that salon, we don't know who you are. You have to introduce yourself. But more importantly, you have to introduce your business. What do people think sharpeners do? I mean, to be honest with you, you guys are kicking down our doors all the time going, hey, shears to sharpen? Shears? Do you have shears? Every month, we have 5 or 6 different shear sharpeners coming into the salon. You know, I don't know what you're using. You could be using a rock for all I know, a millstone. What I'm finding out is there's actually a lot of science behind it. When I was invited to the conference, the last conference, I got to learn a little bit about the machines that you guys are using, the science behind sharpening. I had no clue about how technical it was. You know, it's a very exact science. And unfortunately, a lot of you are not letting stylists know the science behind sharpening. We don't need to hear everything. I mean, Dana can go on for hours. But we do want to know a little bit about what equipment you're using. What makes you different from other sharpeners? You know, this is an apple. So is that. So when we hear the word apple, you know, what's the first thing that pops into your mind? When I first hear the word shear sharpener, or I'm a sharpener, the first thing that pops into my mind is still the guy with the millstone, or, you know, using a grindstone on a knife. You know, your job is to introduce a brand. Who are you? Now, who are you is not just who you are. I mean, we all have names. Who you are is also the company that you represent, or the company you founded. It's the equipment that you use. It's the work you perform, the products that you sell and represent. It's about developing your brand. So what is branding? What branding really is it should give you an idea of a company's products. We should have an association between the products you're selling, the service you provide, and who you are in your name. So one of the problems that a lot of beginning sharpeners have is they walk in and they're like, hi, my name's Jeremiah and I'm a sharpener. And sometimes they even have a name, they throw a name on it. I'm Jeremiah and I have Edge Sharpening. Well, that's great. Well, Jeremiah may do a fabulous job, and I may tell my friends to use Jeremiah. And pretty soon, they tell their friends, use Jeremiah. But what happened to Edge Sharpening? What happens is we have so many people offering the exact same services that the idea is to have a brand to differentiate yourself from all the competition out there. What happens is you build relationships that you can trust. Brands are not just about the products themselves, the service you provide, but about the relationships between those products and services and the people that are providing them. And it sets you apart from other people providing the same services and products. Marketing, your company name, the design of your services and products. All those together create a brand. And your brand is the buffer between you and the consumer. In a traditional marketplace, usually they have a lot of different companies. And you'll have one company, let's call it Company A. And they're the big company in the area. They're the ones with the newest equipment, the big name. They spend a lot of money on advertising. And then you have some smaller companies, companies B and C. The products, the services, they're pretty much the same that they're offering to consumer. But what happens? The larger company, Company A, they had more money for marketing and the more technology, better advertising. Maybe they had more friends. Maybe they had an in. You know, they knew somebody that was in charge. And so they have kind of a head start. When you develop a brand, what you're doing is even the playing field a little bit. Because in complex markets, just because you have a lot of commercials doesn't mean you win. Just because you have a little bit more name recognition doesn't. Because with your brand is not just the advertising, not just the marketing. It's the products, and it's the relationship, and it's associated to the name recognition that you create. So what does a brand mean to the common person? Well, taste tests have shown that in actual blind taste testing, Pepsi wins taste tests. I'm actually a Coke fan myself, taste-wise. But Pepsi wins more taste tests when they're blind taste tests. As soon as you introduce the packaging and the name and let people know which one they're drinking, Coke wins. How does that apply to sharpening? The reason Coke wins is they've developed a name and a brand recognition. And people have an emotional bond with it. They feel an attachment. You like the way it looks. You like their commercials. You like their jingles. You like the people that are advertising, that are in their commercials. The same thing happens with your brand as Sharpeners. Hopefully people will like you. Some of the best Sharpeners that I've met are also some of the weirdest people.
Thank you.
I mean, all of you know some Sharpeners that can sharpen, put an edge on anything. But when you have a conversation with them, you know, they come in, their hair is all messed up, their shirt's untucked, you know, their clothes are just a little bit dirty. They came straight from sharpening, you know, into the salon, or maybe they don't care too much about appearance because they know they provide a great service. Unfortunately, you can provide the best service in the world, but if you haven't created an image, people are going to go to somebody else. They'll try somebody else. Unfortunately, I can walk into a salon wearing, you know, a suit and tell them that, you know, I'm a sharpener. And I can explain why my sharpening skills are the best, and I know about their shears, and I can talk the talk. My product may not be as good as some of yours, but people are going to hand me their shears. What you need to do is figure out the product that you're offering, the service, and then find an image that works for you. I mean, obviously, walking in a suit and tie to do sharpening doesn't work. It doesn't work for any of us. But you need to find the image and create a brand for yourself that you feel does apply to your services and your product. You know, we always say, keep it simple, stupid. Unfortunately, while the phrase is really cute and catchy and it's easy to say, it's not always true. There are a lot of complicated things that go into the decisions that consumers make. And a lot of complicated decisions that go into branding. What are you driving? Where are you going? How and when are you moving forward? And how fast will you go? When you're starting your own business, those are all questions that you have to ask. What are you driving? What equipment are you using? Did you go to Home Depot and did you pick up a grinder? Do you have one of those can openers like my grandmother used to have that has the grinder on the back? Remember, you turn it over, you put your knife in the back to sharpen. There's some people that are still using those. Have you bought one of those machines? Do you have the latest technology? You know, the equipment that Dana was just talking about. Can you put an edge on curved blades? You know, have you come to these sort of conferences, to the jams, the certification classes, taken the additional training? You know, what do you have to offer as a sharpener? Where are you going? What is your goal? Is your goal to do this part-time? Do you want just to pick up, you know, a few extra shears a week and do this as a part-time job for a little extra money? Is your goal to use this to supplement your income? You know, are you looking to, you know, just have a few clients? You know, maybe a few salons that you do every month you stop in. Are you a person that just wants to set up at one of the street fairs or a farmer's market and you just want to do farming implements? You know, that's what you're deciding. What's your goal for this? How and when are you moving forward? Great, you know what you have now. There's nothing wrong with those guys that start out with the Home Depot grinder. I don't want them grinding my $1,500 shears, but there's some equipment that those grinders work great on. You know, some of that outdoor farm stuff. I mean, you're one of those old-fashioned scythes. You're not going to put it on one of those machines, not easily anyways. So, you know what you have, you know where you're going, you know where you are. Now, what's next for you? Maybe what's next for you was coming to this conference today, to the Sharpening Jam. Maybe what's next for you is to attend some of these classes and find out about how to put an edge on a curved blade. Maybe what's next for you is learning how to sharpen clipper blades. Maybe you've been sharpening for 15, 20 years, and you are amazing at sharpening blades, at shears, and you decide that you want to get better at sharpening clipper blades. Or maybe you can sharpen everything. Maybe you are the best darn sharpener in this room, but you're still not making the money that you could be because you're not selling shears to the stylists. Oh, you sharpen, but oh yeah, selling, I don't want to sell stuff. I'm a sharpener. How fast will you go? A lot of that is determined by you, where you are, what your goals are, what you're doing next. None of us can do everything all at once. There's not a sharpener in here that started off able to do shears, clipper blades, dental instruments, farm instruments, all of it at the same level of ability. So start with one, get really good at it, and slowly move over into something else. It's okay to say no. When will you know when to slow down? You know, that's a question that a lot of us don't ask ourselves. You know, we think, oh, well, I'm great with these shears. I do clipper blades too. And I know how to put an edge on anything. That doesn't mean you have to put an edge on everything. It doesn't mean that you have the equipment or the time. You know, there's some things that people are going to ask you to sharpen that take a lot of time that's just not worth your money. Or worth the money to do for that amount of time. The size, style, or cost of car doesn't matter. What you still need is the knowledge, control of your marketing plan. How many of you, especially you that have done it for less than 5 years, how many of you have ever sat down and thought about where you are right now with the equipment that you have? Where you need to specialize or where the majority of your income is coming in and where you should be moving next? Can I have some brave people? Raise your hand if you've actually done that. Great, some of you have. Now, how many of you have thought about it in your head briefly, but never really sat down and written it out? couple of those too. And I'm sure there's some other people in here that aren't raising their hand that probably should be. The 5 critical steps to branding. 1, sound business practices. Be honest. I mean, don't be double charging people. Don't be, telling people that you're producing one thing with sharpening and not. I mean, using that Home Depot grinder to do medical equipment. That's not ethical. Learn and understand your target market. This right here is a biggie. So, for those of you that are in smaller towns, you need to look and see what sort of work is available to you. There are some grinders or sharpeners that are going to specialize in farm implements. And you can do full-time work in that. I've met some sharpeners that do a lot of knives, a lot of tool sharpening. They do a lot of farmers markets, landscapers. Then you have people that do a lot of groomers, people that do a lot of stylist salon and spa type shears, and there are people that do medical instruments. I mean, decide what your market is that you want to start in, do the research, set your prices, get a clientele going for that before you move on to the other markets. Refine the 4 Ps, leading to creation of a marketing plan, which is what we were just talking about. The 4 Ps of marketing. First one is your product, your price, your placement, and your promotion. So your product, that's the service that you're providing, which is sharpening, and then any products that you sell. The price. Most people in here, okay, shears, you're in here in Atlanta. What do you charge to sharpen a pair of shears?
For me, 30. Jay charges 25. They come into the shop, it's 20.
Okay. Where you're at, North Carolina? 25. Flat across the board. Anybody else want to throw some prices out there for your area?
Groomers, $10 to 25, depends on what the shear is.
I just went up from 25 to 30 and 35.
Okay, so you see that there's a range of prices. One of the things that you're going to have to look at in your area is what the market will bear. And obviously shears are something that you go in pretty much a set price. Most shears are pretty similar. But when you start sharpening knives, what do you charge for knives?
Like $1 an inch.
$1 an inch. Is everybody pretty much $1 an inch? I see you nodding your head.
No, I'm not.
What are you at?
I'm charged $2. It's a walk-up booth at a flea market. $2 a pocket knife blade, $3 a kitchen blade.
So it doesn't matter the length. Okay. Anybody else have any other prices?
By the way, I scrapped that. I closed down the booth. Going, it wasn't making enough money at that point.
And that may have been one of your problems.
Yeah.
That's a problem that a lot of sharpeners have too. Is if you don't set your price correctly for that market, you may not be making enough money. It may not be worth your time to do. And then placement. Where you're setting up. Are you going into their salons? Are they coming to you? Are you at a farmer's market? Where are you at the farmer's market? If you go to the conferences, the cosmetology conferences, where you're at in the conference, how your tables are set up. Part of placement is also going to be where you do your work. Again, are you going into the place of business? Do you bring your sharpening tools with you, or are they having to send them to you? And then promotion, how you advertise. Is it all cold calling, knocking on the door? Hi, I'm here to sharpen your shears. Or do you advertise with mailers? Do you do word of mouth? Do you hand out business cards? How do you introduce yourself? Your product. The product or services. Are you unique? If you're the only sharpener in town, well, you're a lucky person. Your special people are probably going to be stuck using you, though you'll have some people that'll still send their stuff out. You can set your prices pretty much where you want them, give or take just a little bit. But if there are a lot of other people in your area doing the exact same kind of work, how are you unique? Is the work you do necessary? Do they have to get their instruments sharpened? Or is it discretionary? Is it, I think they feel like they need sharpened. Sometimes the service you provide is a necessity. But stylists aren't aware. They think it's discretionary, especially when it comes to clipper blades. A lot of times stylists have never sharpened their clipper blades because a lot of stylists don't use their clippers as often as a barber does. Or they don't realize they have to be sharpened. I'll be honest with you and tell you, I used to just buy new clipper blades instead of getting them sharpened. Is it alluring, fun? You know, is sharpening sexy? Not unless Bonnie's doing it. I mean, unless you all have red hair, you know, or jeans flowing chest hair, it's not something that, it's not an incredibly sexy craft.
Lovely knees now. Lovely knees now with a scar on them.
You know, one of the things that you need to do as a sharpener when you're selling your business and setting up your brand is you're trying to convince people to use you. And that doesn't mean unbuttoning the top button of your shirt and doing the, "Can I sharpen your blades?" But it's explaining why sharper blades are better. You know, why cutting hair with it will make their clients look better. That is attractive. You know, why having the best, sharpest utensils will all of a sudden make me more attractive to my clients. That right there would convince me to use you. Is it packaged correctly? If you gave me my shears back and go, "They're sharp," I'm like, I paid $1,500 for these. And we've all seen it. And I think we've probably all done it one time or another. You know, they're done. And you don't throw them on the counter. They're laid on the counter, but they're just kind of there. Okay, those shears are not special to you, but to me, those shears bring in $70,000, $80,000 a year for me. You know, that's what I'm making in a salon. Those are mine. You know, do something when you return them. You know, make sure you're handling them with care, that they're protected. If you're doing the mail-in shear sharpening business or clipper blades, send them back to me. You know, I want the bubble wrap. I want them protected. And also, when it comes to packaged correctly, I'm not just talking about the product and service. I'm talking about all of you. Are you packaged correctly? When you walk into that salon, how do you look? Do you look like someone I would pass my shears over to and be proud to say, "Oh yes, this is the person that sharpens my shears"? Or do you look like a hobo? If you go into a medical office, do you look like someone a doctor would trust to sharpen their equipment? You know, a dental office. Would I want you in the back of my dental clinic with your tools working on my instruments and have somebody see you doing your work? Or are you coming in, you know, with a welding visor and, you know, torn jeans and an old t-shirt? Yes, I understand that you're not going to wear your Sunday best to go sharpen. But in some situations, you may have to wear your Saturday best or your Friday best. Do you have the potential to expand? Again, that's where I was talking about specializing in one thing and moving into other things. Maybe starting off with shears, then moving into grooming equipment or medical equipment, or you know, the farming equipment, you know, whatever. Starting someplace, moving into stuff. And you don't need all or any of these. I mean, you don't. I mean, you don't always have to be unique. You don't always have to make it a sexy sell. But these right here are one of your keys for products. The next one is price. Goldilocks. You know, is this price too high? Is this price too low? Both of them are equally as bad. If you're priced too high, maybe I have 10 sets of shears and I only give you 5 of them. If you were a little bit lower, maybe you could have had all 10. And some people say, well, okay, if I charge $100 to do this, and I charge $50 to do this, well, then I don't need to do 2, I can do 1, I'm making the same amount of money. That's true. If I only have 2, but what if I have 20? I mean, every dollar counts in this business. Now, the other problem that I see is a lot of you guys price yourselves too low. like you. $2 didn't matter the size. Well, you know, the problem with being too low is not just your initial price. I've also seen some of you guys offer discount after discount after discount. How many of you offer a discount if somebody does more than one pair of shears? Okay, what kind of discount do you offer, sir?
2 for 45, 1 for 25, 2 for 45.
3 for 45.
2
Oh, 2 for 45. Okay.
And anything over 2, 20.
Okay, that right there to me sounds like a fair discount. But what I've seen some people offer, get 2, get 1 free. Or I've seen people do, you know, 5, get 1 free. And then they also discount the price. Do you see where the problem is? Not only are you getting that lower price, that $20 instead of 20, I mean, yeah, 20 instead of 25 on all 5 sets, plus you're giving away a shear free. Don't do both.
Hairdressers don't give away haircuts. Why would you give away sharpeners?
Exactly.
Yes.
Don't discount haircuts either. I mean, I've never walked in and said, "Oh, today's a special, and you know, I'm going to cut 1/3 of your hair, and it's only going to be, you know."
Especially with new sharpeners. When I went to the other sharpening conference and I was talking to some of the newer sharpeners, they were talking about salon owners, especially the small businesses. Again, and I apologize that I focus mostly on salon because it's the business that I know and understand. But salon owners asking for a discount, or people asking for a discount. Groomers, you know, they have lots of shears asking for a discount. Don't let other people set your price for you. Set your price, make your work worth that price, and people will pay it. You know, especially when you, yes?
I had a groomer that said, "Yeah, I wanted, you know, do you have a discount? I have like 30 blades that need sharpening." I said, "Nope, sorry. I have 6, you know, I didn't tell her this part, but I have 6 dogs. If I bring all 6, are you going to only charge me for 4? I mean, she doesn't work for free. It's stupid to devalue your labor. Because if you don't value it, they're not going to value it either."
Exactly. Sometimes if you need the money, you can have different rates, but I wouldn't do discounts. There's a difference. This is my rate if you do 2 or more pairs of shears. It's not, this is my discounted price. Because then what happens is, I know that you can do it for $20. So the next time you come in, I only have 1 pair. Oh, come on, you did it for $20 last time.
Jeremiah? Very quickly, once you discount your work, it's very hard to get back. You can't ever recover from discounts. Once you start discounting, you're going to be known as a discount sharpener. Just bear that in mind because that's up to you, but it hurts the industry for the people that are doing really good jobs too. You know, there's enough people out there that are doing $10 sharpening. And if you're known as a discount sharpener, you're just putting yourself into the mix with them. And I'm not poo-pooing on anybody that does do that. But the first time that people ask me, you know, can I get this for this? Because they're used to people giving them deals. I just tell them straight up, I'm not a discount sharpener. I fix people that do that kind of work, or I fix that kind of work. But if you're a good sharpener, get paid for what you've been trained and what you're spending good money on.
If you come into the salon when I'm cutting hair and you want a basic haircut with no shampoo, no blowout, no anything, just a dry cut, and you have short hair, I start out at $65 and I go up from there. If you ask me for a discount, say that's my rate. I can give you to a different stylist. But I know what the education I have and the experience I have is worth. And so should you. Because if you're willing to go down, well then it becomes like a bidding war between you and the next person that comes in. Well, my normal guy does it for 20. Well, okay, well if he does it for that, shit. Okay, well I'll do it for 15. And then the next guy comes in and he went to Home Depot and has that grinder, he'll do it for 5 or 10. You know, let them go ahead and find somebody else. Because I can guarantee that they're not going to find somebody else doing the same caliber of work that you're doing, with the same equipment that you're investing in, with the same experience and the same classes that you're taking, that's going to devalue their work that much. So again, the word discount, don't use it. You can have multiple rates for clients that have, you know, like large sets. But don't do discounts and don't do free. Market research. Find out whether people are in the area are charging. And I tell you this right now, if you're good, find out what other people in the market are charging in your area, and then go higher. I mean, if I go to Walmart and I go to Tiffany's, I don't expect to spend the same amount. I also don't expect to get the same quality of craftsmanship. The same holds true with sharpening. You know, when somebody says, well, my other sharpener is a lot cheaper than that. Okay, well, when you're unhappy with his work, or you find that your shears are burned or nicked, or the edge is not getting the cut that you'd like, then go ahead and give me a call. Again, it's how do customers find you? How many of you have websites? Ooh, less than half. Okay, that right there should tell you something. For those of you that have a business and do not have a website, you are missing a huge opportunity. The number one way that I find a restaurant, I go to Yelp. Last night, I went to visit my sister. She's here in Atlanta. I don't know this area. I went to Yelp. I Googled it online. You know, I was looking for a restaurant. After the restaurant, we were looking for cupcakes. So I typed in the word cupcakes. And, you know, Yelp popped up, some reviews and the different things, and Google popped up, businesses in the area that had cupcakes. And then I read the reviews. The same is true for sharpeners. Because while, yes, a lot of sharpeners walk around and go business to business, I may have just dropped my shears, or maybe just today I noticed they're not as sharp as I need them to be. Or maybe I'm going out of town and I need them. Well, you know, I need somebody today. If you can't come to me, I'll come to you, but I need to be able to find you. And a lot of times I hear sharpeners say, well, I gave them a card. Yeah, you know, I file my cards as soon as you leave. Right over there in this little round filing cabinet with a bag in it. I just, papers, they collect. As a, you know, a spa manager at Alira, and then doing the consulting work that I do, people give me business cards and flyers and order forms and all sorts of stuff. I don't keep them. So get a website. By that, you're placing your product and service. Not only that, you may find that you sell some shears on your website. Because maybe I'm just, you know, scanning the internet bored, you know, looking at sharpeners in the area. It's like, oh, there's some pictures of the equipment you use. Big thing is to put pictures of the equipment you use. Let me know that you're not using a grinder from Home Depot. Put some pictures of yourself looking all professional, neat, and nice. Preferably a couple pictures of yourself maybe in a salon or spa, you know, interacting with a client. So I can see, oh, that looks like a very professional place. You do not have to have a storefront to have a website. You don't have to have a storefront to sell shears on your website or equipment, even if you drop ship that. For those of you that don't keep a lot of shears in stock, just having the pictures and links to some of this equipment, you may sell some and then have it drop shipped. I mean, I know Badika would have no problem drop shipping. I'm sure they do too. Most distributors do. One of the things that you're looking at when you're establishing your brand is the cost of establishing it. Websites are cheap. I mean, WordPress, Squarespace. Having a Facebook page is free. Promotion. Now, along with that website, which is big for promotion, and I'm a big fan of free promotions. I mean, Facebook, totally free. Instagram. What would be wrong with putting pictures of different salons and clients that you have? You know, one idea that I've always thought of that I think that somebody should do is I think that you should take pictures with the shears that you sharpen. Not just of you holding up the shear, but I'm talking about make some little Barbie doll costumes for the shears or whatever, like a little robe, a little terry cloth robe. Take a picture, put that on your Facebook, put that on Instagram. If you text message your clients when their shears are done, you know, for those of you that are like at the farmers markets or whatever, wouldn't it be cute to get that text to your phone number saying your shears are done with a picture of your knife with a little robe on it? You know, leaning back. Or, you know, your shears have been properly oiled, whatever. Even if it's not their shears, just along with the text message saying your shears are ready for pickup, you know, a picture of shears, reclining in a terry cloth robe, maybe having their little oil bath. You know, or for those of you that do mail order, or they send their shears in for sharpening. Pictures of shears, different locations around the world, whatever. The shears are on vacation. They're getting sharpened. They're getting oil. Stupid stuff like that. But it's something that establishes a brand. The stylist is going to remember you. They're going to be like, oh my God, this person, he's an idiot. But when it comes time to sharpen their shears again, who am I going to remember? The 16 people that walked in and knocked on my door and handed me a business card, or the person that sent me a cute text? Who and what are you targeting? Which of these niche markets are you targeting first? Stylists, barbers, groomers, medical providers, homemakers, restaurants. I mean, you have a lot of options. If you're doing stylists, then you have to know the idiosyncrasies of stylists, and there are tons of them. You have to know that stylists have their preferred shears. You have to know that maybe I don't want to let my $1,500 shears out of my sight. For barbers, maybe with my clipper blades, I like to be lower than a 0. I want you to grind them down even so they get even closer to the scalp for me. For stylists, do I want you in my salon doing your work? Or should you be out in a van or in a truck doing it? If you come into the salon to work, how and where will you set up? Instead of introducing yourself to everybody you meet as, hi, I'm Jeremiah, I'm a sharpener. It's, hi, I'm Jeremiah with Pulse Sharpening, or whatever the name of your business is. What you want to do is make sure you're pushing the name of your business. Establish the brand, not just you. And there's a reason for that. The same reason that about 78% of Americans have no money saved for retirement. They don't. How we save for a retirement here in America is we purchase our homes. And then when we retire someday, we downsize or we sell our homes and travel the world or whatever. But most people, that's their retirement, is the home that they live in. The same is true with the sharpening business that you establish. Someday, you're going to die. I can guarantee that all of us will. Hopefully it won't be today. I just learned how to tie a bow tie. The thing about establishing a business and a brand with your business is if something happens to you, the business can go on. So if you died tomorrow, your spouse wouldn't just be selling your equipment. Okay, I'm going to pick on a couple people, and don't be afraid, to answer. You. If something happened to you tomorrow, and we were just selling your equipment, only the equipment that you have right now, about how much is it worth?
Probably like $4,000.
About $4,000. How many of you would say the equipment that you have, if a loved one or the IRS came in and evaluated what you had and had to sell off everything, had around $4,000 worth of equipment? Raise your hand. Okay. How many people have 8 or 10,000? Okay. Now, going back, picking on you. If you have around $4,000 in equipment, if you decided that you didn't want to be in this business tomorrow, and I came up and said, hey, can I buy your equipment and your clients and everything? How much would you say your business is worth?
Probably about $10,000.
Okay, so about double. Do you have a website? Do you have a schedule? Okay. For those of you that can't see, he can just head no for both. No website, doesn't have a regular schedule, which means he doesn't have a regular route. So if he could get he's saying $10,000, but with my master's in business, I'm telling you, I've done a lot of brand evaluations, and you might be pushing it. But let's say that you could get $10,000. You add a website to that. You add a set schedule of salons or businesses that you go to. And all of a sudden, that becomes $20,000 or $30,000. Positive word of mouth is the biggest way that sharpeners spread their name. One stylist used you for one pair of shears, liked it, used you for more shears, tell somebody else. Or you're telling everybody, hi, I'm Jeremiah with Pulse Sharpening. And word of mouth is great. No direct cost. Personal testimonials are great. When your mom tells Aunt Gertrude that he did a wonderful job sharpening my knives, and then she tells somebody else, and then everybody in your neighborhood gets their knife sharpened, that is fabulous. And that results in pyramiding. So you've told your mom. Your mom's told a couple of her friends. Those friends have told some people. Pyramiding's great for establishing a brand. They know about your business. Hopefully they know your business name and not just you. But the problem with word of mouth is you have a lot of crybabies. That same pyramiding that was good on one hand is also bad. Because with pyramiding, you reach a maximum amount of people that you can tell. Your mom has already told every one of her friends. Every one of her friends said, I got my knife sharpened already. You know, the stylist, maybe the salon only has so many stylists that work there. So you reach a limit. But along with that is when you have somebody that doesn't like the service you provided. And that spreads like a pyramid too. Everybody tells 16 people. Whereas when they like it, they only tell 2 or 3. And whether the complaint is valid or not, you have to address it. For marketing, quick tips for marketing. 1, come up with a doable plan and population scale. You can't go ahead and buy one of these machines and say, well, I'm gonna make $100,000 this year without even knowing how to use it. It's going to take a little bit for Bonnie to teach you how to use the machine first. You know, you have to go to Dana's class to learn how to put the edge to a curved blade. For those of you that are in smaller towns, you know, how many clients, how big is the market population for what you're doing? So be realistic. The SWOT, not the pie in the sky. Use a map. Remember what I said? Sit down, draw out where you are. You know, list what you have, what you know how to do, what assets you have, what connections you have. You know, where you want to go and make those steps. And then where, you know, when to slow down, what you need to do to expand, what you need to do to pull back. Get some research behind it. Don't be just changing your name or your logo at will, too. A lot of sharpeners will start out, you know, with Sharpener's Edge. I'm just making up names. And then they go to a conference, they're like, oh, you know what? Somebody else had that name or something close to that name. I'm going to change my name to this. Or I'm going to change my name to that. If you can change your name that easily, it means you don't have a brand. That you are your brand and not your business. And it's important that you and your business are separate. Though you definitely add to your brand. So for a marketing plan, plan it out. I mean, get a short-term plan, you know, 3 to 6 months, you know, a 1-year plan, a 3-year plan, a 5-year plan. At some point, if you max out the area you're at, think about franchising or think about selling your business and moving to another area. So we get back to where we were when we started, which is branding. 4 P's, build your brand. What makes you, you? Now, when I first say that, a lot of you are going, okay, what makes me, me? We're not talking about you, you. We're talking about you, your brand. You, the sharpening company, business that you've started. What makes that special and unique? Now again, you're part of that. Your personality, the fact that you relate well with stylists, the fact that you have beautiful red hair or big silky chest hair or whatever. You know, that adds to that, and you use that with your brand. But what makes your brand separate from every other brand out there? What makes it unique? What are you bringing to your brand? So brands, really it's about name first. Name, logo. You know, is it one product? Do you just do shear sharpening? Well, then your name should probably have something to do with shears and sharpening. Does the name have something to do with the service you're providing? Like edges, shears. What are some other things that?
Hone.
Stuff like that.
Sharp.
You know, a rose is a rose is a rose is a rose. But it's not. Choose your name wisely. Somebody handed me a card while I was here. I'm not going to say any names. And the business card that they sent me or handed me was misspelled. Like the grammar was wrong in the name itself on how it should be. And you have to be careful of stuff like that. I mean, if you're a stylist's edge, well then you need to have an apostrophe before that S. It's possessive. You know, you're the edge of the stylist. You can't just be stylists, plural, edge. It doesn't make any sense even as a name. When you choose your name, Google it. You know, there are government websites set up. You can check trademarks and names to see if anybody else is using it. See if it's even trademarked. May not be. Maybe an open thing. Usually for a lot of small businesses, it's not a big deal. But if you plan on growing, it is. I've also seen some people that they open a business, get it running, it's going great, they're doing super well, and they decide they want to expand. So they open another office someplace else, and they open the other office and they name it something else entirely. Why? You've developed a brand here. Carry that brand over. Your name, what does it mean? If you say Stylist's Edge and it's apostrophe S, that's one stylist and it's their edge. Perfectly fine, great name. I might even go for a name like that. If you put the apostrophe after the S, you're saying it's the edge for all stylists. Both are fine. I probably like the individualized version a little bit better. But what brand was it? There was, oh, Yugo. Anybody remember Yugo, the cars? Okay, do you remember all the Yugo jokes? You know, when they brought the brand to the United States, because Yugo is something else here. You know, it's Yugo. It's not just in foreign countries. I mean, we definitely have that problem in foreign countries. But even here in America, if I'm a pervert and I read your name, you know, the name of your business, what kind of jokes can I make out of it? You know, what is the full meaning, you know, of your business? I'm trying to think of one right now. If I say something, okay, like if I use the word pot in the business, you know, there's pot. There's pot that you sit on to go to the bathroom. There's pots in cooking utensils. You know, so think of all the different meaning for any words in the name that you're using. Edge, you know, is a positive one. So you have the edge of a razor. You have the edge as in a competitive advantage. You have the edge as like a cliff, you know, when you're on teetering on the edge. So look at all the meanings for each of the words in a name that you choose. What degree of preference does it create, and what type of associations does the word have? Again, like for pot, or like...
A good example, and I know some very successful businesses, that sharpening businesses that use this name in their business. It always bothers me if they use the word grind in their business.
Grind.
And you know,
because grind, as soon as I see the word grind with shears, again, I'm thinking of the guy that went to Home Depot. I'm thinking about they're grinding the edge of my shears down. So, I mean, grind for me has some negative connotation. That's a great example. Thank you. Anybody else? I mean, not just for sharpening.
I saw in one of our Facebook groups, the guy had a banner and he was supporting like the little league in his town, and his last name is Stoner, so it's Stoner Sharpener.
Oh, Stoner.
I said you really should have incorporated, and I put a picture of the guy Spicoli from Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I said you should have used him in your logo. Some people got it, some people didn't.
And here's another one that is kind of part of this, but a little bit different. And that's people that use their last names in their business. You're not creating a brand that's going to be marketable to somebody else to ever buy. I mean, why would I buy Smith Sharpening? I'm not Jeremiah Smith. You know, so it's a mistake that a lot of people make, especially when you have some weird name like, well, my name's Jeremiah Sammons. So if I open, you know, Sammons Sharpening, if I establish it as a brand, trust me, it will be a great brand. I will make sure that the brand has great name recognition in the area, that has a good reputation, but when I go to sell it, people are going to ask, so are you related to Jeremiah? Or are you a Sammons? Or is it like a fish? Or and you're stuck. Branding terms. Again, your name can be a word, it can be a group of words. If you're Prince, it can be a little squiggly line that I've never even figured out. If you're Madonna, you can get rid of the last name, and create a brand just around one word. It should be easy to recognize, easy to say, and distinctive. If you end up doing a logo or a mark, it's usually not spoken, again, like Prince, squiggly line. I don't know how we say it. But come up with something a little bit different. What I've seen a lot of people doing is coming up with some really awful logos, like very generic. Like they'll just do a circle and then they'll put SE in it for Sharpener's Edge. It's better not to have a logo and just have a good name until you find a logo you really like or can pay to have one developed than to come up with a bad one. Because when you've created a brand, especially if you start having t-shirts made with the logo or your name, or say you start buying shears and having them marked with your logo, or selling cases to hold shears or anything like that, you've spent all this time and money investing in a name for your business, developing a brand, some brand loyalty, and then you just change it on a whim. It's sort of like when Coca-Cola was getting rid of Diet Coke. You remember how well that went? The box doesn't have a name on it. But most women here can tell you where this is from. We all know when it's the real thing. It's great. Any kid can tell you that's not Tony the Tiger. So I know that we're sharpeners and we think, oh, it's not that important. I do good sharpening, and that's great. But if you want to make real money, you're going to establish a brand that people that use your services will recognize and be loyal to. It builds customer loyalty. It assures customers, when I know that every time I order a Bonica shear, it's my favorite shear brand, that I have quality shears, a good price. If I have any problem with my product, I know that I have people that I can call and that will fix the problem. I know that I have a stunning redhead and a furry-chested gentleman in the back that if I have any questions, problems, concerns, or if I need to reorder something, I can get a hold of them. The same thing, can that be said about your companies and your brands? I know not all of you have a fiery redhead, but for your business, have you established a reputation that clients can count on? I know that as soon as my shears need sharpened, I should call this person. And I can expect this quality of service from them. I can expect my product back this soon. I know that if they do their sharpening service in the salon, they're going to show up professionally. They're not going to interrupt the activities in the salon. They're not going to embarrass me if I have clients that are there. I have some sharpeners that I would never ask back in my salon. We've had sharpeners come in before that showed up honestly looking worse than some of the homeless people on the side of the street. Nice people. A lot of times, let's be honest. The average sharpener is retirement age or close to it. A lot of sharpeners, especially the part-time sharpeners, this is a part-time job they're doing after retirement or as a second source of income. A lot of times they're not all that internet savvy and not really into the latest techniques, don't have the latest equipment. They learned how to sharpen somewhere along the way, and they've been doing it for a long time. And they're used to the same sort of salons that are on Steel Magnolias. Where everybody's sitting around, chatting over some tea or some coffee or whatever, and blow dryers are going, and people are all shouting at each other, and laughing and giggling. Salons aren't like that anymore. If you're lucky, there are a few salons like that left, but they're not. My clients pay a lot of money to come into a salon that plays very low music that I can't hear, that smells of pure essences and aromas that I pay a lot of money to make sure the salon smells like, that they are gently escorted from service to service, that when I speak to them or anyone else speaks to them, we speak in a nice low voice. They're there to relax, get their hair done, get a facial, get a massage. And when I have a sharpener coming in going, yeah, where do you want me to set up? And grinding with these machines, that's not what we want. What I want is somebody that shows up professionally. If you bring your equipment, you bring your sharpening equipment, where do I set up? They don't have 16 roller things and, you know, they're stacked up, ready to fall over and underneath their arm. No, I want something nice, neat, and orderly that they can wheel into the back of the salon. I'll show them where they can set up. You know, I'll let them in the kitchen or the break area. They can have all the room that they need, but when they're coming in, I want them to come in quietly, professionally, preferably in one trip. You know, I don't need you walking through the salon 70 times to get a bunch of different things. And if you're doing it in your truck or van, even better. But again, I don't mind you using the break room, but I want you to maintain my atmosphere. If you go to a doctor's office, I don't want you tracking in mud. You know, I don't want you in dirty clothes or raggedy clothes. And I understand, again, I know that sharpening is not the cleanest of professions, but you have to look professional. So you're assuring consistent quality when you've set up a brand. That way, maybe you don't get to the salon to pick up the shears. Maybe you send your wife or your son. But if they're dressed in one of your shirts that has your logo on it, and maybe they're a sharpener also, they've associated the work with the brand and not just with you. So maybe your son's a better sharpener than you are. Or maybe he's the one that's available and just as good. You don't want it always to be about you. Let it be about your business itself. That way anybody from your business is representing your brand and can do the work for you. One of the best things that you can do as a new business is to co-brand. Does anybody in here know what co-branding is?
It's basically where I'm not shearing sharp, I'm a Bonica representative.
Yes. Yes.
Piggyback on the back of another brand.
Yes, exactly. What you're doing is you're piggybacking on the back of another brand. So for me, I'm not a sharpener. Let's say that I open a company tomorrow and I keep using Pulse because it's the first thing that pops in my head. I'm going to call it Pulse Sharpening. Nobody out there knows anything about Pulse Sharpening when I go in. But if I carry Bonica shears and I have Bonica's logo on my business card, you know, as I'm one of their distributors, well then automatically any stylist that's ever done business with Bonica is going to associate Bonica with me. So if I've chosen good brands to co-brand with, right there gives me a little bit of authenticity, a little bit of credentials to my background. If I use those machines over there or those machines back there, and I have that listed, I'm really acting as a representative of their brand. You know, I'm showing people that I'm associated with them. If I'm selling those shears. But one of the problems that a lot of new businesses start out with is they try to do everything for everybody. And so all of a sudden I have 16 different type of shears. I have Oster, I have Waugh, I have 5 different types of clippers. And that's a mistake too, because when you have that much going on, nobody knows, you know, which one to really associate you with. And you can't do them all evenly. I mean, I know, again, I use Bonica shears for myself. So I know that if I'm selling those and I'm representing them and I do a lot of business with Bonnie, I know that if I call Bonnie with a problem, she's going to walk me through on how to fix it. I know, oh gosh, I'm not quite sure how to sharpen these. I can call her up and get the angles. I know that if I do a lot of business with Oster, I can call Oster up and I've specialized in their product They know who I am if I need a favor too. You know, there's a part that, oh shoot, I'm out of this part, I need it fast. You know, if I do a lot of business with you or one of their distributors, you know, you build relationships. No relationship with 40 people is going to be the same as the relationships you'll have with 2 or 3. So it's one of those less is more. Choose good brands to co-brand with, to associate with, and rep their brands and just their brands. I mean, if every now and then you find something else that you figure you'd like to sell and carry, that's fine. But specialize, specialize, specialize. It goes right back to at the very beginning when we were saying you can't be everything to everybody. You know, specialize, and once you get that all the way down, once you have that relationship formed, then you can start carrying something else. And when you do that, it helps address new target markets. So like I was saying, if you specialize in shears and you decide that next I want to go into clipper blades, so you've identified that's the next market you want to go into. So you're like, okay, well, if I want to do that, I need to buy one of those machines back there. And, you know, I really like Oster clippers. I'll specialize in them. I'll take some of their training classes. I'll carry their parts. So you specialize, and then you can target that market. Then you know to go to the barber shops. And once you get that done, you may decide, well, you know what, I'm going to go into groomers next. So for groomers, I can use that machine still. Well, Bonica doesn't carry a lot of grooming utensils. Well, they do, so I'll start carrying their grooming products and build that relationship. Everybody understand? And it helps to establish an image. I know that for me, you guys haven't figured it out by now, I'm a little on the liberal side, I'm a little wild. You know, I need something a little more stable sometimes to project that image of stability. So Bonica would be good for me. Because anybody that knows the Bonica brand, you know, knows that, you know, we have a little Sunday school teaching, you know, ex-school teacher, sweet, nice, whatever person. Whereas me, there's no buffer, and you never quite know what's going to go out of my mouth. You know, there's a Hillary bumper sticker on my pickup truck.
Oh no.
I know. You know, sometimes I myself don't want to be associated with Trump, but maybe I need something a little more conservative to balance me out. The best partnerships are people that are strong where you're weak. And, you know, that can provide something that you don't. So if you are the world's greatest sharpener, don't try to make your own shears. You know, find a shear manufacturer that you like or distributor and carry theirs. If you find that you are a great shear sharpener and you can't do clipper blades to save your life, well, I know some great people that do mail order, and I know they'll cut you a deal where you can collect the clipper blades and mail them to them, and they'll do the sharpening. You know, I know Bonica shears will sharpen shears that you don't know how to. You know, if you get a curved blade and you don't know how to do a curved blade because you haven't taken Dana's class yet, and, you know, you haven't bought that tool, well, send them to Bonnie. She'll sharpen them. She gives you a different rate. You still make a profit. And what you've done is you've established an image for your company because they don't know that you've sent them out. And you know, you've had a quality business that you've co-teamed with representing your business because the work you give back to that stylist, you know, is your company's, is your image, part of your brand. So when you use people to support your brand, choose wisely. Advertising's great for building brands, but it's expensive. So take advantage of all the free advertising you can. Business cards, make sure they're nice. Don't scrimp on business cards. Give them some texture, give them some feel. You know, your name, it didn't cost you anything to come up with a good name. And if your name stinks, well, you know what? You're in a safe environment right here. Brainstorm with some people. Pick some brains. I mean, there's a lot of experience in this room. I saw some hands of people that have been sharpening over 10, 15 years. There are people that are new to this that go to a lot of the training sessions and have just interacted with a lot of other people, heard some things, taken classes, know things that you don't know. brand equity. When your business, the commodity that you have, the products, becomes a brand, you have equity in it. It has value. And that value can go up or down. If you're the only sharpener in town, well, I mean, whether you're good or bad, your business has some equity just because some people have gotten used to using you. When competition moves in, your equity is liable to go down a little bit because they're going to take some of that. So what you've invested in your company, how much money that company is capable of making, is all part of that equity. It's tangible and intangible. The tangible part is how much money that you're making with your brand. The intangible part is the reputation your brand has. Maybe you're just a part-time sharpener, but you've been doing it for 15 years. Part-time, 1 day a week, whatever. You have Yelp reviews, you have a website, people recognize your name. They're sad when you don't come around, but when you do come around, oh yeah. So you decide to sell your business someday to somebody that wants to go full-time with it. Your business is still worth a whole lot more than just that equipment you have and how much you've been making with it working part-time. Because you have intangible equity built up in that business. How to measure equity? It's hard. It's how much your brand can command on that market. The difference between the value of your equipment and how much the value of your company is worth, how much it could earn. And you want to build brand equity. The biggest way you can do that is to distinguish your product or service from everybody else out there. Whatever your advertising says is what you want to deliver. If you say you're using the newest, latest, greatest equipment, then don't be buying your equipment from Home Depot. If you tell people, oh yes, I can put an edge on that, be able to put an edge on it. If you say you know how to do dental equipment, then my goodness, you better know how to do that equipment. Have the proper equipment to do it so that when you're giving a quality product back to the people that are using. If you do all that, you'll create a power brand. And a power brand, it sounds kind of fancy. Ooh, sounds great. But power brands are really simple. It just means that you've created a brand that's doing everything that it should, so people are going to use you. That's all a power brand is. It's a brand that has done the right things and that people want to use. And what happens is you have increased profits. You expand your future strategic opportunities. Meaning, if you're the best shear sharpener in town and you decide that you want to move over into clipper blades, you already have the market down to finance that new equipment, the additional training you need, maybe hiring an assistant to move over into the clipper blade arena. You get those down, then you can move over into the grooming arena. And that way you can have not only the proper equipment, but also the proper supplies to sell. Maybe you have an assistant that helps you. Maybe you just have a spouse that's making deliveries for you. But at some point, it'll be impossible for you to do it all yourself. And that's what we all want to have happen. Who wants to be working all by themselves forever, making exactly the same amount of money they make right now? Anybody in here? I know I don't. What power brands have and others don't? They have a distinctive product. And for sharpening, your sharpening is your product. You deliver on your brand promise. And you have personality and presence. No matter how much advertising you have in the world, if I had $1 million and I was able to put ads on TV every day and newspaper articles and everything else about what a great sharpener I am, people may use me at first when they don't know any better. But let somebody with some real skill come into the market, like Dana, and no matter how much money I spend, I may be able to keep a nice chunk of the market, but he's going to rapidly catch up with me. And sooner rather than later, he'll pass me up. Personality, hopefully we all have it. If you walk into the salon going, that's sure sharp. Or then you have the other person walk, yeah, I can sharpen anything. Yeah. And we've all seen it. I see you giggling back there. I know you've run into it. I've met some guys, they're sharpeners at the last conference that have been doing this for a long time, and they're very sure of their abilities. But then you start talking to them and you realize that some of the stuff they're saying doesn't match what I'm seeing when Dana was teaching his curved blade class, or when I was listening to Bonnie teach me how to use the machine. Some of the stuff they're doing and bragging about, they're doing wrong. So just because you have a big personality, that'll help you at first, but you also need to be consistent. Your personality needs to match the people that you're working with. If you're talking to a bunch of hunters, it's fine to be big and loud and broad, but don't come into my spa acting like that. Don't go into a doctor's office like that. You may be able to joke and play with groomers or horse people, trainers and handlers for animals. You can talk louder, you can dress differently. You can stand around and chat, but I don't want you standing around in my salon chatting with my stylist, because I want quiet. My stylists need to be doing something else. And it may not sound friendly. Sorry, I make my money off my clients, not from you guys. So, there's a time and a place for all things. And if you want to talk, there's a break room. Fine, go back there. If you're consulting about the shears themselves, that's fine. But talking, having loud conversations or vacations or whatever in the front of my salon, blocking people coming in, it just doesn't work for me. But personality does create a bond with clients. It's one of the reasons I'm here today. I met Bonnie in New York and I kind of have a crush on her a little bit. Hopefully her husband's not jealous and my boyfriend's not, but and it generates relationships stronger than ordinary brands. Anybody can go out and buy a Coca-Cola. But if I make some homemade soda and bring it to you, if it's good, that's special. You made me something. So you're doing a personalized service. Anybody can send their shears in to be sharpened mail order. But when you come into my place of business and take them from me, and you ask me, Jeremiah, now, how do you cut with these? I'm like, wow, you really care about what I'm using these shears for. Well, I slide cut with it. Well, if you slide cut, then I'm going to change the angle slightly with these. And I'm like, wow, I love you. You care about me. I'm not going to use anybody else because I know that you care about me and my business, my brand. So I'm more likely to utilize yours. Presence. You want to be present everywhere. Social media, Facebook, Instagram, have a website, pass out business cards, cold call. If you can't make it out to the area or it's a super long drive, then make a phone call. Set a schedule. Let a salon know, I'm going to stop in the first Tuesday of every month. Is that all right? Oh, okay, we may not have anything for you. That's okay, I'll just stop in to say hi. And even if you don't stop in, you can call. Something that a lot of you are missing out on is doing a little paper that gets the phone number, name, maybe birthday, email address for your clients. Because how great would it be when you don't feel like driving way out to the boondocks to shoot out an email or send a phone call? I can't always answer my phone, I'm with clients. But shoot me an email or a text saying, hi, this is Jeremiah from Sharpener's Edge. Was just seeing, how your shears are working for you. Did you need me to stop by? And a text is always better than a phone call. Because I tell my secretary, I'm not in, take a message for all my calls. She screens everybody. If you come into my salon and you ask the front desk for me, 9 times out of 10, unless you catch me up front with somebody, they're going to tell you I'm not there or I'm with a client in the back or whatever. So get an intake form. Short, sweet, should be this big, or do a normal piece of notebook paper size. You can get 2 of them. Name, email, phone number, just a few little things on it. That way you can keep track in your computer when the last time you serviced their shears or their clippers were. It's really easy with like Microsoft Access, or there's tons of programs out there that are for cold calling, where you can just put little notes in there, or have a card. So this side, maybe their registration with their name and email address and all that. On the back, you can just make a note to yourself, stopped in 11, 12, 17. No shears. Stop. And it lets you stay in contact with people. That way, if you ever get in a bind, financially, you can shoot out a mass email to everybody. You can run a special. No discounts, but you can run a special. Or if you start carrying a new brand or a new product, and it gives you some more selling opportunities. And someday, you may decide that if your brand's established enough to move into national or international scale. I mean, Bonnie, when you started Benica Shears, did you expect to be traveling the country the way you do?
No, I was called Scissor Mechanic, and it was just going to be me.
Everybody hear that? She started out as Scissor Mechanics, which is a great name, actually. I like that name.
If I was only sharpening.
Yeah, if you were only sharp. If you're a sharpener. But expected to start out just herself. And now she's everywhere. Successful brand extension. That means that's what she did. She started out with shears, and then she extended her brand to other things. Multiple concepts and channels. You may decide right now sharpening is what you like to do. But later on, you may decide to be a shear distributor. You may decide that you want to sell clippers or carry his product. You clean necks when you're done with the haircut to clean up. And you need to be savvy. Use the internet. Stay abreast of new technology. And last, your company, which is your brand. Is your product packaging, which is how you dress, your business cards, all your mailers and advertising, your websites, your logo, everything all together. And all of that is the product that you're putting forth. A brand's a promise that you're going to deliver the same thing every time. No matter what McDonald's I go to, or Chick-fil-A, if I order a Big Mac, I can expect the same Big Mac. And that's what we want from our sharpeners.
When you talk about branding, Sharper's Edge versus Bob Sharpening, as an example. How important does the trademarking or registering that brand come?
It can become pretty important, especially for your area, because this is what happens, and I've seen this happen many times. Let's say that your name is Sharpener's Edge or Bob Sharpening, whatever. Let's say that you get a reputation that you're an amazing sharpener. Let's say everybody in the area starts to use you. Well, somebody else is seeing you make money, and they're like, well, shoot, I can sharpen too. And maybe his name's Bob. So all of a sudden you have two Bobs both running around doing, I'm Bob, I sharpen. Or let me tell you a horror story that may get something thrown at me. There was somebody that has an amazing shear that looks like a fish's bones. It's an amazing shear. I love it for texturizing. It's one that Benica carries. She didn't trademark the name. Guess how many other shear companies have fishbone shears now?
Yeah. Mistake. Big
So
mistake.
that was their product, that they didn't trademark. The same is true of your business. Happens all the time with salons. Happens all the time in any business. Somebody succeeds, and what's awful is that other guy named Bob may not be the sharpener that you are. He may have just started, you may have been doing it for 20 years, but he gets to piggyback off of your reputation, and if he speeds in and trademarks everything, well, you're going to still be able to get fair use out of your name. But he's going to be able to stymie your every attempt to do anything with it, or when you go to sell your business. Or he can go into other businesses and say, well, no, I'm Bob. That's some other Bob. I'm the Bob that everybody says good stuff about. The bad Bob, my evil twin brother, all those bad reviews, they were talking about him, not me. So that's how important it is.
It's like $300 to trademark.
Yeah.
It's not.
You can do it online.
It's not that expensive.
It'll let you do the research. Between Google and then the website, it's really easy to do. And I can help anybody that needs help with that. Anybody?
What do you think of loyalty cards?
Loyalty cards.
Oh,
Like the
loyalty
punch
cards.
are-
Loyalty cards are great. Couple problems with those. One problem with loyalty cards is, according to what punch you use, I can go on eBay and I can find any punch you're using. So, I mean, no offense to people out there, but people are unscrupulous.
We wrote dates down, and in small print said it must match the service on our records.
Right. There's nothing wrong with loyalty cards. What I prefer, though, is again a certain number of shears in order to get a preferred rate. But if you want to do a loyalty card, you know, some people really like it. A lot of people lose them. The other thing you can do is, especially if you're doing what I was talking about with keeping track of your client with their information, and then on the back, your contacts, you could also keep track of them yourself. I like little gifts too. More so than a free service, a little gift is better. Because again, when you give a free service or anything free that you're producing, you diminish the value of what you do. What I like much better is maybe they do so many sharpenings and I send them, well, for me, I would do like a little gift thing or coffee or something like that, but something gift-wise.